The birth of the Texas Republic can be told through two different perspectives. Texans will most likely reference the Alamo as the starting point of revolution. They will highlight how the dictator Antonio López de Santa Anna slaughtered freedom fighters. On the other hand, Tejanos, Mexicans, and Chicanos will tell you that the Anglo settlers invaded Tejas as a result of manifest destiny. While there is some truth in some of these statements, you should all know by now that Sessions with Flo will challenge all the false narratives and provide you with facts and sources to back that claim. Anglo-Americans had long shown interest in Texas, dating back to the Spanish period. Texas provided land that was great for farming, and the land was sparsely populated. Spain was not open to Anglo immigrants, but eventually agreed on a deal where 300 families would settle the area, on the conditions that they would accept Spanish rule and become Roman Catholics. Eventually, this task was completed under Mexican rule, when Agustín Iturbide allowed Stephen Austin and the families to settle in Tejas under the same conditions. The United States first attempted to buy the land from Mexico back in 1825, but was unsuccessful. This is where the concept of manifest destiny came about. By 1828, Tejas had become a sought-out place by these Anglo immigrants, and the Mexican government began to take notice. On April 6, 1830, a law was passed in order to slow down Anglo immigration. The law revoked land grants that were not filled and prevented the importation of slaves. The political turmoil in Mexico between conservatives and liberals would also impact how Tejas would be governed. Antonio López de Santa Anna came into office as a liberal and promised to limit the power of the church and military. The Anglo settlers were accustomed to federalism and wanted less control from a central government. On January 2, 1834, Stephen Austin was sent to represent Tejas, but was immediately arrested in Mexico City. As Santa Anna began to show more signs of conservatism, states like Jalisco, Nuevo León, San Luis, Zacatecas, and Coahuila, which then included Tejas, revolted against the conservative government. Santa Anna not only crushed these revolts, but he also permitted violent acts, such as looting, murder, and rape against anyone identifying as liberal. By May 1835, Santa Anna had dissolved the National Congress and did away with the Constitution of 1824, doing away with states' rights. By the mid-1830s, there was almost 4 Texians for every Tejano. This would ultimately affect the situation in Tejas as the Mexican government became more centralized and the military occupied the territory. Eventually, Texans, as well as some Tejanos, began to build up an army made up of individuals with little to no military experience. Nonetheless, the Texan army did not agree on the ultimate goal of the fight initially. Some wanted Texan independence, others wanted to reestablish the Constitution of 1824, while others just wanted the Mexican military to leave Texas. General Martín Perfecto de Cos intended on driving out Anglo immigrants who had been in Tejas less than 5 years. Dismissed the legislature of Coahuila, ordered to shoot all military prisoners and any lands belonging to Americans burned to the ground. The first signs of war began on September 1st, 1835 at sea, when the Mexican military seized American-owned merchant ships that were attempting to aid the insurgency. The Texans responded by attacking the Mexican army in San Antonio on October 2nd, 1835. However, these individuals did not seek independence, but rather a reestablishment of the 1824 Constitution, and if not, independence from Mexico if necessary. While all of this was happening, the U.S. remained neutral in the affair, but the Texan army received private donations from American citizens, mainly Southerners. The battles continued with many small victories by the Texans. It wasn't until the Mexican army killed Texans at San Patricio that Texas independence would be declared on March 2nd, 1835. By March 6, 1836, 188 men, mainly recent Anglo arrivals, prepared to defend the fort against the orders of Sam Houston. Santa Anna and the Mexican army arrived with 1,400 troops. Unsurprisingly, 182 men at the Alamo were killed, and the 6 survivors that remained were immediately executed. In Goliad, 390 men who were captured were executed under the orders of Santa Anna. These 2 events would eventually shape and fuel the turn of events that followed. While Santa Anna awaited the Texan army and reinforcements, he made a crucial mistake. Convinced that Houston would not attack him and his men, the Mexican military rested and napped while the Texan army cut off the reinforcements. 783 Texans attacked 1,380 poorly prepared and paid Mexican soldiers. The Battle of San Jacinto was over in 18 minutes. Santa Anna was captured and ordered to sign the Treaty of Velasco, which recognized Texas independence and required the Mexican army to retreat from Texas. The war for Texas independence was a fight between Santa Anna, who was supported by Mexican conservatives, and United States citizens who had recently arrived in Texas. Ironically, Mexican liberals were blamed for the outcome in Texas, partly due to the fact that Santa Anna came into office as a liberal. Texans were initially fighting for the liberal Constitution of 1824, and independence became secondary when this could no longer be achieved. Although the overwhelming majority of the Texan army was made up of Anglo immigrants, some Tejanos supported the fight as well. Santa Anna's poor leadership not only affected Texas, but eventually would affect all of Mexico, leading to the Mexican War. Santa Anna served 11 terms from 1833 to 1855. In his tenure, not only did he lose Texas, but he also lost the California and Nuevo Mexico territories. He was also a key player in the Gadsden Purchase. To conclude the episode, although Anglo immigrants were welcome initially, their presence in Texas posed a threat to the Hispanic culture in this territory. As soon as the Mexican government realized this, they attempted to pass legislation, such as the abolishment of slavery and importation of slaves, which sought to prevent Anglos from entering Texas. When that did not work, the authoritarian rule of Santa Anna inspired not only Texas to rebel, but other Mexican states as well. Although the U.S. funded the revolt by private means, it never sanctioned the independence movement of Texas on a state level. And although the U.S. did not invade Texas, its private citizens did contribute to an inevitable war, which would lead to the U.S. occupying Mexico's northern territories and later purchasing them for $15 million. Listen, I know with tons of content on the internet, sometimes it's not convenient to watch an entire YouTube episode. However, if you would like to share the clips of this episode, please consider following me on TikTok at f.l_o.w_. If you are more of an auditory learner, this episode is also available on all listening platforms. Until the next one, keep challenging false narratives.